6:15 here in Portugal and, of course, in the UK as well, where Anna and John join us from in Devon. How are you both today?
Yeah, doing good. It's a little bit cold, a little bit on the cooler side today, but otherwise not too bad. I think I see there might be a bit of stormy weather coming up, possibly, from what I see, but otherwise not too bad.
Great to have you here, Anna. This, of course, is Get Out and Grow. Happy Homesteaders here, sending your questions for us and the head gardener. Lee McGrady's here, who is a professional gardener in the Lisbon area, living here in Portugal as well. How are you this evening, Lee?
Very good, very good. Yeah,
excellent. I'm ready for those questions.
Another lovely day in Portugal.
Good for you. Another lovely day in Portugal. Yeah, some important rain fell over the weekend, didn't it? Because we were just having a very quick chat about the drought situation. Here's a picture from central Portugal. Look at that. I mean, that's just like as you said earlier on, Lee, that's a stream. That's not a reservoir or where two rivers meet. Shouldn't be looking like that, should it? So it was raining in the weekend, was it, over Lisbon way?
We had a little bit, but nowhere near enough. The ground was it rained. It rained every Sunday, and it rained into the night Sunday, which is always a good.
Yeah.
You want the rain in the nighttime temperatures.
Yes.
By 10 o'clock this morning, the ground was rock hard again and bone dry. Really? So it's not enough. We need weeks of it. We're desperate. But
right. Well, that's how it's looking over here in Portugal.
Yeah. People enjoying the sun.
Yep. And John, good evening to you. How are you?
Yeah, I was just going to say that picture that you just showed, it really does look like a bad situation, because when we were kind of looking at it before we came live on here, I actually thought it was my first thought was that it must be like a estuary where the tide was going out or something, or about to come in, perhaps. But yeah, because that's kind of what it looks like, but it obviously shouldn't look like. It should just be completely full of water, but particularly if it's a reservoir. So yeah, that is really bad, actually.
Yep. I think people are quite genuinely concerned and rightly concerned over here in Portugal at the moment. Hopefully we'll have one of those classic Aprils here, if not plenty of rain before then. What is it, April? Something about loads of water every April. There's a wonderful Portuguese saying which escapes me now, but somebody maybe to help us with that in the comments. And of course, that's where we want your questions, so that Anna can pick them up there. John, you're reiterating your usual request of people.
Oh yes, I am indeed. So if you forgot to let Anna know about your question, or have only just thought of one, let us know here.
Very good. Well done, sir. And Paul, Louise and Lottie have sent in some lovely pics. Maybe we'll start with those. Driest winter that we've seen in 12 years over in Portugal. And boa tarde a todos from you. Thank you very much, Paul, Louise and Lottie, and thank you for your pictures, which we will show now from your wonderful garden. Which side of the water, though, are these, Paul, Louise and Lottie? Look at these, though. Here's some produce. The strawberries are showing already, aren't they? It must be Portugal. It's got to be Portugal. It got to be Portugal. And some citrus there. Yes, I'm thinking Portugal, not UK. And some lovely flowers as well. Thank you for this lovely colour as the evening is darkening here on the Silver Coast. Lovely to see those blooms. Thank you very much indeed. Really appreciate it. We look for interesting ways of growing food, don't we? What about this approach, growing food on your head? Is that to be advised, or is that a little bit high maintenance, Lee?
It'd give you a backache, that one. It just hurt your back after a bit.
Okay, all right. So other ideas are welcome, and they will be appraised here, as you've just seen. Anna, do we have any questions in other than through the chat or comments this evening?
We've got two in on the live feed at the moment. We had one in early from Roger. More of a recommendation, actually, than a question. Looking for rustic pots, clay, not plastic. It says for the gardenscape, not new, absolutely used, and ideally near Portimao. So just put. I think that's the only new addition I've seen on the group so far. So I realise it's more of a request than a question.
I think. I did see this the other day, and it made me think. The terracotta pots that he's after, they age really quickly and they look old quickly. But you can enhance that. You can make it work quicker by rubbing yogurt onto it. So if you get some This is true. Don't laugh. If you get some yogurt on the cloth into the terracotta, within like 2 weeks, they look really old. Yeah. And it really works. I know when we did the Cheshire Garden Show many years ago, one of the stone walls there that they wanted to make look old, they were painting yogurt onto it 2 weeks prior, and it really does the trick. It turns terracotta and stone like that. Yeah. So a little tip. Yeah. So I mean, the terracotta pots here are so cheap anyway.
Aren't they just?
You're talking pennies. From the small ones for 99 cents to large ones for less than a fiver. You couldn't imagine it back in the UK. You just wouldn't find it. But yeah, so it's actually affordable to buy new ones and age them quickly. It does work.
I'm trying to. Oh, I found it. I found a picture. I'll have to show it later because it's upside down. But I've got a knee high, pretty much. Certainly a good way up your shin. Terracotta pot, less than €5. I mean, you're not going to get prices like that anywhere else, are you? I mean, they're amazing. They're really sturdy, well made, very beautiful, even in their brand new, pristine condition. I can understand why you might not want that in some garden situations, but excuse me, as Lee says, the yogurt going down the wrong way.
I think the biggest you want are the 45-litre ones, because anything after that becomes too heavy to move.
Yes, of course.
It becomes a bit of an issue.
Yes,
but even the 45-euro ones, they are what, €7-8, and then with the tray underneath, it makes it a tenner. You're just unaffordable in England. Yeah, it's perfect.
How big is that? Is that up to your knee? That sort of size? Would we be talking about?
Well, if you think a large compost bag is 50 litres.
Wow. Okay, that is a big fella. Okay.
Yeah. So a terracotta pot that's 45 litres. Once you put your plants in it, you need maybe 30 litres of compost, to fill it out, because you want to give the plants that space to grow. Yeah, they're huge. They're huge terracotta pots. And if you shop about, you can get really good deals on them.
Yeah, that's tremendous. Good to know. So there you go, Roger. And I will bring you this picture. It looks like I'm a flower pot man, actually, in this picture. Not for the first time, it has to be said. But incredible value on the brand new terracotta pots. And I'll bring you a photo of that in just a while, because I sent it home. I've been sent out for compost and planters and stuff. Decided to make my own planters, and I got some pictures of those. Actually, as well as some of the terracotta pots in situ. But yeah, we'll bring that to you as soon as I possibly can. Whilst we're on that subject then of planters and terracotta pots, if I could give you a quick update of what's going on our homestead. And I actually would like your view on this as well, Lee, just to make sure we're on the right track here. I've got some pictures. The planter raised bed situation that I was starting a few weeks ago, and I showed how I stripped down or slashed down a board, a pine board. It's not a hardwood. It's not going to last very long. You could treat it, excuse me. But that sheet there that you can get from Leroy Merlin here in Portugal is about €16. You can slash it into thirds, and you're not wasting any timber, because you've got the two sides and the tops. When you split all that down, split one of the long pieces down into half, and you've got 12 long screws into there, and you've got a planter. Yeah, and you can see what's going on there. It's going well. I've got another one in the front garden. There's an aerial view of it, which you can see in a wider perspective here. So we're turning suburbia into some good growing space. Lee, my slight concern here, I mean, we've put food, we're composting at source underneath that top layer of compost there. Is that going to be all right on the pavias like that? Oh, I think we've lost him, haven't we? That really important question, and he just disappears. Never mind. We'll come back to Lee as soon as he posts. Go on, John.
While we're waiting for that, I have an important announcement to make. Last week on our week off chat sum up thing that we do to make sure we are bringing you super quality gardening advice, we decided that we like to go into disability and accessibility gardening. Now, I was just wondering if anyone is listening who is disabled, has a disability, is involved in accessible or disability gardening, and would like to come on as a guest please comment and let us know about that, and we can get back to you, obviously.
Nice.
So yeah, I just thought I'd throw that out there, let you know that that's something that we've been doing, and yeah.
Thank you, John.
Aware of it, basically.
Yeah, I mean, that'll take us back to the roots of this, no pun intended. This is always meant to be an accessibility, disability angled production. And it's great that we've got this collaboration with Lee, who out of the goodness of his heart, joins us every Monday. It's amazing. Thank you, Lee, whilst we're saying that. And with Expats Portugal. And we come up with this program that is of growing popularity and interest to people. It's a bit of a niche broadcast, but it's a really lovely moment, 6:15 every Monday evening, apart from the first Monday, where, as John said, we have a little bit of a production meeting. But so nice to see the growing popularity here. And we would like to obviously include more of the disability accessibility angle, as John has said there as well. So do get in touch. Questions coming in. Anna, do you want to tackle this one?
Yeah, we've got this one in. What is good to grow in the Algarve as opposed to more central areas, in particular soft fruit and veg?
Thank you, Jack Polly. Good evening to you.
Yeah, good evening. I think it all really depends at the moment. I think the last few weeks have really heightened everyone's awareness of the water shortage. So down in the Algarve, you're much warmer, the climate's much better or much hotter than it is in the north. So your first consideration has got to be how much you want to spend on your water bill to maintain a crop during the summer. But as far as I'm aware, everything does really well in the Algarve, from apples, plums, pears, and you've got no restrictions on what you can grow if you can get your soil conditions right to start with, and get your irrigation system set up so you're using the minimum amount of water possible. You've got no restrictions at all. You can grow anything.
Amazing.
Just be prepared to need to shade certain areas, using shade matting, using shade cloths when it gets too hot. But yeah, you really can't go wrong.
Garden of Eden down there. But there's a further question here, Anna.
Really is.
Yeah. What type of soil or earth? And it says, what's the difference, or are we good to go?
Soil and earth. There is no real difference. Dirt is dirt. I've spent the last 2 years improving my sandy soil to a thick, organic, loamy soil. That's just by adding organic waste constantly and turning it in constantly. But that's not for everybody. I've enjoyed the 2 years struggle. But a lot of people want to go out and just buy compost and mix that in with the sand they've got, or with the poor quality soil they've got. But again, if you minimise that to just your growing area, you can save money. Compost here is a little bit expensive compared to England. But the 50-litre bags come in at around €8 a bag. Price has gone up slightly recently, but if you minimise that into trails and troughs, so you're only really composting the area you're going to grow in, then you can minimise your cost dramatically. But I always do that when I'm putting seeds in, or when I'm putting young plants in. I always pack around with compost anyway, and you're going to want to do that just to get that great boost to start with. So keep it minimal. Try to not spend more than your veg would cost you. That's got a bit of point. And they also do quite a good worm cast here as well. If compost is golden, worm casts are diamonds. So if you get 2 50-litre bags of compost and 1 50-litre bag of worm cast, mix it together, it makes a great compost that's kind of affordable. And if you do that year after year after year, you will improve your ground dramatically anyway.
Very good. Loving that, Lee. Thank you very much for that. There you go, Jack Polly. Thanks for joining us this evening, and a little bit of a starter for you there. Do send pictures when you get growing. And it doesn't have to be the finished product. We love to see gardens being created as well as the finished products and the whole process. We really love to see that. And I was showing this before we lost you, Lee. And my question was with that, I think we've got enough compost there. We're composting at source underneath the compost bags that you see there, the 50 litres that you talked about. But are we going to have a problem just sitting it on the pavias like that? Or do you think we're going to be okay?
Have you put any weed suppressant matting or anything underneath the compost, underneath your tray?
I think we put some cardboard down.
That'll work short term.
Yeah.
But the cardboard will obviously rot.
Yeah.
I would have lined the box and the base of the box with like a weed suppressant matting, you know, that plastic.
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
you know what I mean. Yeah, I'd have lined the edges of the box and the base with the matting just to give it a bit more. It holds the water better. I mean, cardboard will do the trick, but cardboard rots down quicker. The plastic holds the water a little bit longer as well, so you're not watering so much. But no, you'll do grand there.
Right.
We don't get the same rotting problems as we do in England with the timber because it dries out so quickly. The timber doesn't rot as quickly.
Yeah.
So even without a treatment, your soft pine will do fine.
Oh, that's good to know, because I was going to ask you that as well. The matting might help a little bit with the rot, but you know, it's a toss-up, isn't it? It's like, do you want to put preservative next to your food, or do you want to leave it naked like that? And then that's proper organic, isn't it? And the lovely thing about these is at the end of the season, you can turn that compost over, can't you? Lift up the frame, put it somewhere else, and we're good to go.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. They're so small, you can, if you save the bags or if you get a big bin, you can take the compost out, you can move it out of the way for the year, for the winter, and then bring it back out again next spring when you're ready to grow again.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that. That's great. It's going to look like we've got a load of coffins in the garage. But yes, fair enough. Okay, thanks for your tips on that. And before we move away from the
just a quick jump into that. Back in the UK, I used to use the spacers you get for the top of pallets. You can get, when they put things on pallets, you get little wooden boxes that protect the goods that are on the pallets.
Yes.
They're quite cheap and readily available back in the UK, but they're like 3 foot by 3 foot, and I would use them all the time. And at the end of the year, I just lift them out, fold them up, put them back in the shed, and bring them out again for the spring. They're great for. They're not so good for potatoes because you've got not got a depth, but for stuff like carrots and lettuce, they were perfect.
Great stuff. I'll see a nice little hack there. Before we leave the Algarve, Victoria was given some oranges down there by a neighbour. What a lovely picture that is. And that's citrus. You can almost smell it, can't you? Sun-kissed citrus from the Algarve. And cat-kissed as well. That's Darby, I believe. Darby is the cat there that's inspecting the citrus on this occasion. While we're on the picture deck, let's go to Oregon. The OLP joins us occasionally. This is their lovely pond. I would love to have a pond. I think ponds are fantastic. That's a beauty, isn't it? It's pretty big as well. And we're looking at their wisteria there, of course. And I don't know what those other purple flowers are, but they're very beautiful. I've seen those in Portugal. Is it too small for you to see there, Lee?
I can't see that on my mobile.
Louise might know on that. And look at that lovely view. And, you know, that's America. That's Oregon. But I'm thinking that's looking very British as well, isn't it? That's from the British tradition, I think, of gardening.
I'll have to dig some pictures up of my old garden back in the UK to share with you all.
Love to see
because it could be the same. It could be the same garden. It could be the same space.
Really? Yeah. Oh, with the lovely mystery, the sense of mystery, where you're hiding things from people, and you got to walk around it to get a sense of it. Very nice.
It was a nice woodland garden, and we had a great pond in it. And wisteria was all over the place. It's always been my favourite plant, and now I have it back here in Portugal. It's part of the dream, isn't it?
Oh, fantastic. Valentine's Day, of course, today. Sarah Yerman, our cycling friend, was out cycling in Faragudo yesterday. Saw this on the road, which is a nice cue for Mr. Agate, I think, who has got a little bit to say about roses. Roses traditionally given. I'm not sure if we find out now why roses are given and why they are the flowers of romance. Lee might have something to say about that. But have you got a few facts about roses, John?
I do indeed have some fun facts about roses. Just find the post I made in the group.
Louise is home in Portugal. There you go. Strawberries for Valentine's Day. I think I'd rather have strawberries than roses, frankly. But there you go.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
cream as well.
Strawberries and cream. And while John's finding the rose facts, Deborah's here as well. Great to see you here, Deborah, again. Did God invent ivy so we could hate something more than we hate Boris Johnson? Oh, Deborah. I have moved.
I mean, it's true.
Debbie, ED has got an ivy problem back in the UK in a UK garden, and it's been taking a wall to pieces. She's really struggling with it.
And they've got a Boris problem there as well, haven't they? I think in the UK as well.
Yes, we have.
I feel for you, Dee. I was looking at photos of their garden last week, and it's beautiful. The garden back that they have back in the UK is very special. Maybe we should get Dee to share some of her images and the experience of learning how to become a gardener. She's doing quite well, actually. I'm quite impressed by it.
I do not like the stuff, however pretty it can look. Yeah, Mrs. M got poison ivy rash the other week. Her face swelled up a bit like Will Smith in that movie. Is it Hitch? Or he eats a prawn and it swells up. That happened to Mrs. M. Be careful with the poison ivy, with the climbing ivy. And just another one from Deborah, can you grow blueberries in your garden in Portugal? I think we've had this before, but yes is the answer, right, Lee?
Yes is the answer. Yeah. We'll sort that out, Debbie. When you get back, we'll have a trip out to the garden centre. Yeah.
Okay. And is this Boris Johnson or is this no? Surely not. This is about the ivy again. Dead, damaged, and diseased. What's this then that she's talking about? Is this that's
the reference to rose pruning?
Oh, okay.
It's the basic 3Ds for rose pruning. Dead, damaged, disease. That's where you start from, and then you progress to shape and style of how you want your plant to look in the future.
Have we got the makings of like a Karate Kid movie here, where Deborah learns from the garden?
She's not learning from me. She's been back in the UK, and they've got a great gardener over there in their garden who's been giving them lessons. And so when she came back, I was testing her when she came back. She was doing quite well.
All right. Yeah. And so, yes, try those blueberries when you get back. OLP, whose garden we showed, who said, hi, all you gardeners. Thanks for showing my garden. It's delightful. Thank you for sharing those pics. What type of blueberries? The low-growing bushes or like we have in the Pacific Northwest? So that's a good call. Good shout. What type?
The ones you have in the Pacific Northwest, when you go pick them, you have to be careful because of the bears. Because they also like them. Yeah. If you imagine a strong heather plant, but with a smaller leaf and no flower, it's typically a woody, low-growing shrub. But they produce really, really well here in Portugal.
Okay.
You can see them when you're driving up the motorway. You can see them on the hillsides, and it's just I want to stop and get the car on the hard shoulder. Yeah, they do really well here, and it's a low-growing woody shrub.
Great stuff. Okay, so they're the best ones for this climate and environment. Superb. Yeah. All right. If anyone's got a picture of those, that'd be great. Louise might have, and the purple flowers look like rhododendrons. The OLP's here and can answer that question. So what have we got going on in this picture here with the lovely purple flowers, where the comment is right over them at the moment? Let me just remove that. Yeah, are those rhododendrons there? It's a good call.
It does look like rhododendrons, but it's a big leaf, but the flower's quite large on it.
Yeah. All right. So now, I'm sure can help.
Oh no, it is. It does look very much rhododendron. Okay. Rhododendron ponticum. Burn them all.
Burn them all. Okay, not a fan.
Burn them all.
All right, Senor Ajay, can you tell us about roses?
Yes. Indeed, I can. Sorry, it just took a while to find, but yes, I can. Right. So apparently, roses are one of our oldest flowers, according to the smellofroses.com. So I've put a link to that in the group, actually. So this is fact one. and just some basic notes they've put here. They apparently archaeologists have discovered rose fossils that date back as far as 35 million years, apparently, which is quite interesting.
They'll be expensive.
Bonkers, isn't it? Yeah. So I wonder if it's like one of those fine wines where they get better with age or something.
Darling, I've bought you 35 million year old roses.
Yeah, I mean, I don't drink alcohol, so I wouldn't really know about any of that. But yeah, the people who say roses apparently can live for a very long time as well. Supposedly, the oldest living rose is 1,000 years old for some reason. Weirdly, yeah, which is pretty amazing. So these are just there's a. I'll just read out one more because I'm aware of the time. But apparently, this is one of the sort of a bit more odd ones. Even apparently, each rose color has a different meaning, but you can look at this full. There's 10 facts about roses, and you can read this full article in the group where I've posted it earlier on. So yeah.
Go to the Happy Homesteaders group. Did you say you've got one more for us there?
Yeah, each rose color has a different meaning, apparently. Weirdly enough. I don't understand how that works, but it must be something.
Let's ask the head gardener. How does that work, Lee?
When you say it has a different meaning, it's the romantic dark red, white for bride, red for romance. But I wasn't. I was in a private garden in Doncaster, must be 15 years ago, and they had a rose that was on the original photograph when the house was built, and they aged it at around 145 years old, 150 years old. I remember it was nearly 150 when I saw it, and it was stunning. It was beautiful, but it was more like a Rosa rugosa. It was more of a spreading, climbing rose, a more traditional woodland rose. My only real problem with roses is that 9 times out of 10 people can't prune correctly when they've got them in the garden, and they over prune them, which spoils everything. And the mass production of rose flowers for the floral industry, it's just a waste of money. It uses so much water, it uses so much space. It involves child labour. It's not romantic. It's a crime. It shouldn't be. Yeah, but
fair point. Yeah, I mean these dreadful monocultures are terrible, aren't they? With any species, really, and that's certainly what happens. I think, isn't it, for the floristry industry?
A lot of the flowers that people are buying today in England and Portugal will be harvested a week ago in Africa.
Wow.
And they'll be kept under polytunnels, and they'll be using water that really is needed everywhere else in the country. It's just a shame. It's a market that people are happy to ignore and buy the dozen roses for an extortionate amount of money.
Wow. Okay. Thank you for that, Lee. That's an interesting reminder, and I imagine they're quite a drain on local water resources as well, aren't they? And talking about the drought earlier in Portugal. And John, thank you for that. Link to the rose facts in the Happy Homesteaders group on Facebook. And anything else from you? Anything come in?
I don't think so. Just checking through the questions. We've had another question from Deborah about making a planter. I'm back next week. Have a plan, but need something called gravel boards. Where can I buy them from? I can't quite pronounce the name, but they have a particular name in Portugal apparently. But where to get them from?
I'll sort them out for you when she comes back next week. Yeah, well, I'll sort that out.
I mean, that's pretty much like I've made, isn't it? The this sort of a gravel board is probably half the height of that, isn't it? Which is used to keep gravel on a gravel path.
Yes, yeah. The widely available here, Leroy Merlin, Stockham. Not always the best conditions.
No, it's true.
Timber is always twisted. you can't find a straight bit of wood in Leland Merlin.
You know what? That's the good thing about these, Lee. These come in a sheet, 200 or so by 100, and they lay flat, so they're quite good. If you've got a circular saw to rip them down, this is quite a good and cheap way of doing it. And that big board is 16 euros. So I can't say enough about that. While we're on that matter, and I found the terracotta pot. There you go. Look. So for size, those were €4.85, I think, each, of course. But that's still a bargain, isn't it, for a terracotta pot of that size?
15, 18 litres, something like that.
Yeah, I think so. That sounds about right.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. Oh, well, we've been sent this picture as well. Wrong show, I think. That's from the Algarve this afternoon. Thank you, Coach Turner, for that. I think that's
jealous, aren't they?
It looks all right. Very good. Anything else then, Anna? That was let's have a go at that, shall we? They are called the Tablas de Madeira Grava. So I guess Madeira possibly wood, Grava the gravel. So I think, as Lee says, he'll help you out with that. But if anyone wants to know that cheap source of making an edge, that's the thing to ask for, the Tablas de Madeira Grava. They're here in Portugal. OLP. Dark purple is a rhododendron. Well spotted then, Louise. Excellent stuff. The light purple is a wisteria, which we recognised. And I love your garden, says Louise to the OLP. Absolutely beautiful place. And keen to get started over here at some point. Of course, the OLP, Portland, Oregon's name is the Rose City. And has some amazing rose gardens. So quite a tradition of growing there in Oregon by the sound of it. And the birds like those blueberries. Maine has a type that you harvest from the ground with a rake. That sounds like an abundance, doesn't it? Absolutely lovely.
That's the same sort I was talking about, the low-growing shrubbery, woody shrub. You get a special rake with little prongs on it with a small net behind it, and you can scoop them, just scoop it through, just work it through them.
Clever stuff. Okay,
we get them up on the North Yorkshire moors. It's not that exotic.
This is the first year we've been successful in taking rose cuttings, says Louise. What's your secret? Rooting compound, what are you doing there? We'd love to know, Louise. And I'm sorry, wrong language. In Portuguese, they're called tábua de saibro. So that was probably tablas, which sounds a bit Spanish, doesn't it? Trigger alert. Is that what they are? Okay, yeah, I think we've got to the bottom of that mystery there. So anything else, anybody, that you've noticed? Anna, John, Lee, anything you want to add this evening?
I haven't got any questions or seen any come in. I was just thinking, just sort of seeing there was sort of like a, sort of knowing we've had like sort of questions on like fruit trees and that kind of thing. Sort of knowing you can get sort of dwarf varieties. Do they grow the same amount as normal height fruit trees? I'm just trying to work out how to word this question so it's not going to confuse. Do the main variety sort of obviously sort of produce a lot of fruit? Do the dwarf varieties sort of just well, I know obviously they're shorter. Do they put as much energy into the fruits as the ordinary ones put into the height of them?
They're not technically a dwarf plant. It's just that the graft is lower to the root system, so you can prune them and keep them short to yourself. If you allow any dwarf plant to grow, it will grow as big as it possibly can. It'll grow like a normal tree. It just means the graft is lower to the ground, so you can maintain a lower bush. A lot of people get caught out by the dwarf conifer and the dwarf plum trees. They're quite common, but they're not actually dwarf plants. They're just the graft, and the way they've been split when they start to grow is lower to the ground. So it's exactly the same plant. It's just been grown slightly differently.
That's a bit misleading, isn't it? But you still can get your bang for your buck, though, can you? I mean, I think is that part of the question? Is that even though it's smaller, you're not compromised on the fruit volume necessarily?
Yeah, I think that was what I was thinking of.
Yeah. You're really not. I've got a small apple tree that we put in 3 months ago, and I intend to make that into a dwarf apple tree. It's never going to get more than 6 foot tall.
Okay.
And I've already started to prune it to keep it as small as possible. It's going to be the centre point of the garden, So I've got the big fruit trees around it with the apple tree right in the middle. And that's going to be low growing with a low canopy. But that was bought as a traditional apple tree, but I'm making it a dwarf apple tree by keeping the pruning level and the splits as low as possible.
That is going to be so romantic, Lee. That's for well, probably won't be Valentine's, will it? But you can be underneath there in the shade, can't you? And just be on a blanket on the lawn and pull down an apple to feed your beloved.
I'm hoping it's for the kids to climb up when they get a bit bigger.
Okay.
I'm hoping it can take the weight and make it a good climbing tree. But yeah, whatever you want, Carl. Yeah, romantic, tree climbing. Yeah,
a tree for all seasons. I missed this earlier on. Paul Mackay did. All right, Mr. Mackay. Paul McKay did a piece for Portugal Resident on what to plant in the vegetable garden in the Algarve, published on the 30th of March 2010. So you can look that up for Jack Polly there. Fantastic. Thank you very much, Louise. Very thoughtful. And Baldilocks, Miss Baldilocks' greeting earlier on. Baldilocks, no three bears, just Baldilocks on his own for the Happy Homesteaders today. Nice to see you all. Great of you to join in, Baldilocks, at the beginning of the day and at the end of our day as well. Good on you. Excellent attendance, sir. And still here as well, shouting out to the OLP. And Rose Cutting Secret, big pot, good compost. Makes sense, doesn't it?
And a little pro tip, a little bit of honey dipped onto the edge, onto the base of the cutting, goes a long way. Because
what's the chemistry going on there, Lee?
It's an antibacterial. It's similar to root hormone treatment, but without the bad chemicals. So yeah.
Great stuff.
A little bit of honey goes a long way.
Lovely tip. Love that. Are espalier trees popular in Portugal to save space? You don't need to necessarily, do you? But I have seen them. What about you, Lee?
They are popular in the older gardens, but yeah, you really don't need to.
Yeah. I mean, when it's done nicely, it looks great, doesn't it? It looks really sort of geometric and interesting. But when you've got an old garden with just a load of rusty wire hanging off the wall, it doesn't look so great then, does it? This is quite an architectural, high maintenance feature, I would have thought.
My old plum tree back in the UK was fixed on the wall, and we had no problem with it. But we've got a heat difference here, and I'm always concerned about airflow. Is my big issue here because of the bacteria that we have, the funguses that get into fruit trees. So I'm always looking to keep things away from walls, to keep things as open as possible. Anna's putting something on the screen.
Yeah, Anna's just showing us a beautiful espalier there. I mean, that's a good one, isn't it? That's a real beauty. That's how it should look.
Yeah, that's gorgeous. Our old plum tree was something very similar to that. I got it up to, remember correctly, it was 9 feet, and it had 4 stems coming off it, 4 either side. But I imagine if you're on the wrong wall here in Portugal and you're getting direct sunlight onto that wall, it's going to create a heat problem. That would be my only concern here in Portugal. But I've seen them done on wire fences, which is great here. They do a lot where they go up a wire fence and then it divides 2 properties. But you get the airflow with that. You don't get the bacterial growth.
Kiwi fruit is grown like that, isn't it? On property borders, not against the wall, but up on along espalier wires, almost like telegraph wires, with some kiwi vines on there, and also the shushu. I've seen the shushu grown like that. I don't know if you like that particular vegetable.
I don't even remember back to last year when I put my kiwi in, and I've shown it on the show. So it was a year ago. That is on the fence between the pool and the footpath. And I'm doing the same thing. I'm going to grow it along the pool side. It'll be nice. Yeah. Nice,
excellent shout. Good question. And kiwi vines are quite invasive, so be careful. They will grow. Thank you for that, Louise. And I think espalier trees we have on separate wires, not on walls, just in rows. Okay. So yeah, I think
that's perfect. Then. Yeah.
Okay,
that's really perfect.
Let's finish tonight with insects, good and bad. And another good call from Louise tonight. There seems to be more processional caterpillar nests this year in the pine trees due to the milder, dry weather. Is that true? Is that your experience as well for you there, Lee?
Yeah, they're much earlier. I've got some photographs on my phone. I was up a tree 2 weeks ago for a customer. So this is two weeks ago. It's unbelievable. I was up a tree to remove a nest and found the nest hatching where the caterpillars are coming down. So it's maybe 8 weeks earlier in Lisbon. We shouldn't be getting that till much later on in the year.
You deal with them, do you, in your professional work?
I have to, Carl. It's part of my job, mate. You've got to. If you've got a customer with pine trees and they've got cats, dogs, kids, it's becoming a massive concern. And if I don't deal with it, then I'm not a gardener.
We've got a little bit of processional down a little bit, Anna.
I've been
an eco trap. Interesting. Okay, so there's an eco solution there.
I've come across them, and they're maybe 50% successful. They don't catch every caterpillar every time, and they don't catch every troop of caterpillars. I'm trying to come up with an idea to fit a spray system to a drone, so I can fly a drone up and spray the nest in situ.
I'm sure that's doable.
It's got to be doable. My original idea was a flamethrower on a drone, so I could go up and set the tree on fire. But apparently, you're not allowed to do that in Portugal
for some reason.
So maybe an insecticide in a drone system. I'm looking into it because I'm sick of climbing trees to cut. Because I'm climbing up trees to cut 4 foot of branch off to get a nest at the very edge, and it's not time. It's not time well used, is it? It's a bugger.
I think John's got an image in his mind there of a kind of Mr. Bean scene of you being chased by your own drone down the street. You know how drones can lock onto you. So yeah, be careful with that idea.
Yeah. No, I was kind of thinking you could make if that did work out for you, you'd probably make a business out of that, Lee, and kind of help. Like people could modify their drones to do that, and you could make some money potentially. I don't know.
John, money is all I ever think about. Money and beer is my only drive in life.
with this lovely weather we've had, I noticed San Martino Beach, going from processionaries to ladybirds. Is it true that these are helpful? Will they take your aphids down to Chinatown or not?
I love ladybirds. They are God's little gift to the planet. They're fantastic.
Okay.
I used to release them by the hundreds of thousands in the greenhouses. We used to put them in the greenhouses in the millions in the commercial greenhouses, and they do the job. They eat everything. Yeah,
Ooh, okay.
Well, they get to the point. They get to the point. If you put too many in the greenhouse, you have to then open the windows and doors to let them out because they start to bite you.
Wow. Well,
they are that ferocious. Yeah, you've got too many when they start to eat your legs.
All right, in the Ballads, just finally then, we know you might have to go, John, but the festival, a cultural festival of books, trees and seeds. How good is this? 18th, 19th of March this year, the Seed Festival up there in Mamorosa, which is in the Bairrada area, just south of Aveiro there. Aveiro district, that looks like will be a lovely festival to go to. But I guess many gardeners are going to be too busy in the garden at this time of year. And I also wanted to share with you a lovely film I saw. See you later, John. Take care, mate. Just before we go, a beautiful filmmaking project. If I can bring this onto the screen now. Are we seeing that? Let's have a look. Yes, lovely movie. I meant to watch another one of their films. Bought tickets for the premiere that happened on Saturday night. And I'll show you that in just a minute. But I watched this instead because I missed the premiere. And I watched this about a New Zealand project. This amazing man and the film by the name of Fools and Dreamers, Regenerating a Native Forest. Only about half an hour long. These sort of folks, these slightly eccentric, beautiful men.
No, he's not eccentric. I've watched this several times.
Isn't it great?
It's brilliant. It's brilliant.
Is that how you want to be in your 70s or 80s or whatever he is?
In my 70s and 80s, I expect to be drunk or dead. But yeah, it does seem like a bit of a dream. it links into a few other videos that I love to watch about grasses and rewilding with grass. It's building the ecosystem from the ground upwards without getting too airy-fairy hippie type. It really does work, and it shows it in the video how he's transformed a desert into a great environment for wildlife and people. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, and of course, he says this isn't humans doing it. He's helping nature do what nature. There's no way humans could do it alone. And it's a really great way of sort of getting out of the way, isn't it? A really good message of getting out of the way and letting nature get on with it.
Leaving it be, yeah. Just leaving the grasses to start, and then the grass breaks up the hard, dried soil, and then the seeds get in, and then the grass supports the seedlings, and then keeping stock off. Yeah, it's brilliant. It's a brilliant documentary, half an hour. I watch it regular. I watch it when I'm feeling sad.
A bit of inspiration to lift your spirit. So OLP and Baldilocks having a nice exchange. And the interesting thing there that's come from Baldilocks is that San Diego has the same grow zone as Portugal. So that's good to know, isn't it? And it's good to be able to make that sort of comparison. Baldilocks coming over to buy us all a coffee. Yep, we'll have that. Thank you very much. It would be lovely to meet you. Baldilocks, looking forward to that when that happens. And OLP loving the ladybugs. Look, you should find a picture of the larvae so people don't kill the larvae. Hopefully remember to do that for next week so that doesn't happen. And I can't recommend Happen Films enough. This is the one I was hoping to watch. You can host a viewing of this in your part of the world. But this was so touching. Just seeing the trailer for this is absolutely wonderful. Together We Grow. I might actually do that if I can after we've played our outro. So that you get the sense of what's going on there. But these little pockets, these little niches of people coming together, just like we're trying to do here, Happy Homesteaders, encouraging people to grow food, grow together and grow community and get off the grid a little bit, whatever that means, whether that's to do with getting away from the corporatocracy of the world. All of these films are very inspirational in that department. Go on, Lee.
I think when any project like that is started, it has to have a good community behind it. And I've started some, I've been involved in the starting of some that have been really successful and are still going 30 years later. And I started some back in Oldham, which was a really deprived northern town that nobody would want to live in. And they've not just grown veg, they've grown a whole group of people that come in and look after each other and grow and share. It really does work if it's done properly from the start. Yeah.
And these are local things that you might never hear about. Of course not. But it's good to know they're going on all over the world.
You could drive past it and blink and miss it. But to some people, it's the best part of their week. Yeah.
And look at that. We've got a curb appeal thing going on the morning show. What better curb appeal than turning your suburban front garden into a bit of growing space? Absolutely beautiful, especially when the kids coming past can take an apple, a strawberry, or something like that, rather than just look at things that aren't productive in any way. Just easy on the eye. Thank you, all of you lovely people commenting and leaving things in the chat this afternoon. Join us again next week at 6:15. Lee, thank you so much. Really appreciate you and what you do for us. Anna, great job. And you, John, wherever you are. We'll see you next week. We'll go out with our usual outro, and then I'll try and play this trailer at the end because it's worth a look. We'll see you next week. Ciao for now.
We know from the stories that come through the door of the remakery that things are really, really hard in our communities. There is healing that needs to take place before people feel that they are activated into moving from crisis into feeling powerful and enabled.
You're free when you're out here.
We want to grow the strengths from the hardest places. Common Unity began 8 years ago. I think we had about $25 when we started.
Everything is either a donation or it's grown by someone in the community. We've got 5 different schools that we're donating lunches to. We've really tried to make everything accessible for everyone.
A wee while ago, I was quite down and felt that life really wasn't all that worthwhile. Being able to contribute, it's very healing.
We run urban farms across the valley in the backyards of social housing tenants.
The impact that it's had on us financially has been really incredible.
Also our local prison and at the residential care facility.
It was really refreshing coming here. It's been a huge, huge change for me. There's a real reward in taking something that was abandoned, had it, making it useful again, and then someone's going to get enjoyment out of it.
This is something that we create for ourselves, with one another, responding to what it is that we see for ourselves in this community.
We are a social enterprise, so all the profit that we make end up in the kitchen to produce more food for kids that are in need.
We're not meant to live as single human units. We are meant to be creatures of community.
Imagine you get a whole street full of skilled people that come together and share their skills. My gosh, what a difference that we would make, eh? What a difference we will make.